It's pretty flat. It drops down right behind me, and then there's this, oh, there we go. Oh, I was not expecting that. Holy cow, he came out of nowhere. How's it going, everybody? Well, if you assumed that I'm heading back out for another day of ice fishing, you are absolutely correct. If you didn't see my last video, go check that out. But if you did, you'll know that just the other day, I caught my first and my second lake trout ever. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm heading back out to that same lake, and hopefully we'll have some luck. I'm going out there armed with some herring, and I've got all kind of artificials like tubes and spoons, and pretty much just everything under the sun to catch these fish. But I think we're gonna have some pretty good luck on the herring today. That's what I used last time and caught both my fish on, one of which hit a jaw jacker. Wasn't even jigging that one, so that was pretty exciting. Anyway, I'll see you guys when we get out to the lake. I got probably about an hour drive ahead of me. So I'm gonna sip my coffee, eat my breakfast, and we'll get out there safe and sound and hopefully catch some fish. Out to the lake today. Not as nice as it was the other day. Overcast and the wind is blowing a little bit, but that's kind of to be expected out here. We're kind of deep down in a valley that kind of funnels all the wind through, but no one's been out here since it snowed. It actually looks pretty untouched for at least a couple of days out here. So I kind of ripped across the lake going fast as I could so I wouldn't get stuck, and pulled into my spot, and I got it just slightly stuck, nothing bad, but I'm gonna get the shovel out and dig the car out and just get it back onto the tracks over here, just so I know that I'm safe to leave when I need to. I don't want to have to worry about that later when it starts cooling off and getting dark. So I'll see you guys in just a minute. Guys, it is super windy out here, so normally I put a little bit of filler clip in of me setting up and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not going to waste the time to do that today. But I did want to share with you guys one important thing is when it's windy like this, don't just come right out and pop your tent up, because that's a good way for your tent to go sailing across the lake. So I popped up the roof first like you're supposed to, and then I popped up this one side, and the first thing I did is I tied it off to the car. That way if the wind does catch it while I'm setting it up the rest of the way, I don't lose my tent. So the next thing that we're gonna do before I set the rest of it up is we're gonna put these stakes on these first two corners. The wind is coming from directly behind me on the opposite side of the vehicle, so you always want to set up facing the wind first, get that side stake down, and that way if that wind comes along, you are safe and your tent is safe, because that is a pretty expensive mistake to make. If it goes blowing down the lake like that, it'd break all your poles and
Might not even get it back in one piece. It might be completely gone depending on, you know, what size of lake you're on and all that kind of stuff. So let me get this other side staked down real quick. And then the next thing that I like to do when it's windy like this, after you get your tent set up, is get your skirt flared out all the way around, and then take your shovel and just get some of this fresh snow here and just kind of pack it up over the skirt. And that's going to do two things. That's going to, one, help weigh it down, make sure your tent doesn't go flying away if those stakes fail for some reason. But the second thing it's going to do is it's going to help to insulate the tent too, by closing up all those air openings on the bottom, and that way your heater's more efficient. You can run it on low, use less propane, and all that heat's not escaping out of your tent. It also will make sure that there isn't any pocket underneath that the air can whip in and lift this thing up off the ground. The most important side obviously is going to be the side where your wind is coming from, which is going to be this side. So we're going to get some of this nice hard ice pack on there, and that ought to do it. Looks good to me. This thing's pretty solid, so I'm going to get all my gear in, and hopefully we're going to start marking some fish. Let's get Mr. Heater here started up. It is cold out there today. It's unfortunate this wind is coming through the valley right now, because it's actually about almost 30 degrees warmer than it was last time I was here. It's about 33 degrees outside, but that wind chill factor, oh man, it feels at least 0, -5 or something like that outside right now. It is cold. So we're gonna get the heater going. I'm gonna get some of my toe warmers put into my boots, and then we're gonna get some herring on and go set my tip up outside. Tip up. And then we're gonna start jigging this hole here. If you guys are ever out ice fishing and your toes are freezing cold, just do this for about 4 seconds. You can see the steam rising off of my sock. Oh, it feels so nice. It is so cold out there today, guys. I really hope it's worth it and we end up catching some Lakers and I don't get skunked again. Let's go ahead and get this rod set up. So this is the one that we're going to put out on the tip up today. Obviously, I'm going to take this off, and I think I'm going to put the same setup I had on before, which was a nice large size octopus hook and a piece of herring. So let's find ourselves an octopus hook in here. That's not what I want. There's one. And we're gonna need some weight. Clean my tackle box every single trip I go on, and it still always ends up a mess, but it's actually pretty organized right now. It's not too bad. Where are the scissors? Did they fall down in here? Oh no. So I guess I'll use these. I got a backup pair. Oh, nope, there they are. Awesome. Looks like we're already marking something down on the bottom there, which I guarantee that that's going to be a Laker. There's also char in here, and there's a whole bunch of rainbow trout they stock, but the depth that we're at, which we'll talk about in just a second, that's definitely going to be a Laker. So I think we're right in the territory today. Get that nice and set on that hook with the barbs sticking out. That way, as soon as they grab that herring from the bottom, it just cuts right into their lip and the tip up will go off. All right, now that it smells like fish in the tent, let's get outside and get this on the tip up. All right, so this is gonna be about 45 to 50 feet of water here. I had a tip up set in my last video, last time I was out here. Drag, that's not good. And I had it in just about the same spot, and had a fish come up and snatch this thing, and the tip up went off and got the hook set. So I'm gonna set it up in just about the same depth today. Let's bring that up just off the bottom. And this is my DIY jaw jacker. I like to call it the lip ripper for copyright purposes. If you guys are interested in checking this out, seeing what it's all about, go to my channel. I did a DIY on this, on how I built it. It's super cheap. It only takes about, I don't know, maybe about 15 minutes to build, and It cost me about $10, $15 per unit. I built 2 of them for less than you can buy a single name brand jaw jacker for, so I'm pretty stoked, and they catch fish. So if you don't believe me, go check out my other videos. Caught a laker on one last time and caught plenty of rainbow so far, so we're gonna go ahead and leave that there. Hopefully it'll go off. Oh yeah, it's already up to about 50 degrees in here, maybe 60. It feels absolutely excellent. And I've got that tip up, sitting just out there. That way I can see it from my seat, and if it goes off, we'll run out there and get ourselves a fish. All right, guys, so let's take a look at the rod I'm using today. This is a Shakespeare Wild Series 36-inch medium heavy fast action rod. I really like this rod. It works well for me. I'm gonna start out with this tube jig. This is the 2-inch variety. I was trying the 3-inch before and they didn't really seem too interested. The laker I caught was on the smaller sides though, so maybe they'll like this smaller size one, but this is the chartreuse in white. This is a really cool jig. It's made locally in Palmer, Alaska by a company called Columbia River. It's got these cool little fins on it that make kind of a chattering noise in the water. And it's got this really cool dive. When you open your bail, it just kind of circles its way down and it looks like an injured bait fish. And I've got that tipped with just a little bit of flesh and skin from some herring just for some scent. Tuck it down inside the skirt there. And this one's got these cool little sparklies on there. So even all the way down at the bottom, you get a little bit of flash from the little light that has penetrated down there. And before we get that rod in the water, let's take a look at what electronics we're using today and parameters that we're at. So this is the Garmin Striker 4. I really like this fish finder. In my opinion, it's probably the best budget fish finder. I've got it in traditional graph today, and I've got A-scope turned on. So basically what you get is your traditional graph with all of your history of fish movements over here on this side. And then you have a real-time flasher over here. There is one thing that I'm gonna do though, and that is, I'm gonna come in here to my settings, I'm gonna come down to my frequency. Now this comes preset on the chirp 200. I'm gonna take it to chirp 77. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna narrow that beam that goes down. So if you think about it right now, looking down at the bottom, the beam is pretty wide. And the deeper you go, the wider the beam is as it hits the bottom. The problem with that in this spot is I'm sitting right on top of this super steep drop off that's got a pretty steep wall. So when the beam hits that wall, it can kind of make all kind of false readings on here and it can kind of mess stuff up. So by narrowing that beam, you get a much more accurate picture of what is directly below you. And that's really all I need to know. I need to know where my jig is, and I need to know if there's any fish next to my jig. And that's pretty much it. So that's what we're gonna start with today. I'm gonna come back in here, and there's something tracking across the screen right there. Let's go ahead and go down and meet that fish real quick. I wasn't actually expecting to see anything. I was going to show you a couple more cool things, but let's get this down in the water. I'm running 20-pound braid on this rod today, and I've got a leader of about 8 feet of Trilene Sensation Mono. That's one thing that I've learned though, is you always have to check your water column. A lot of times you're going to find these lakers all the way down at the bottom, but every once in a while you'll find something swimming through at 20, 15, 10 feet. And sometimes it can be a rainbow or a char or even a stock salmon or something like that. But every once in a while, depending on where your food sources are, you will find lakers up higher in the water column. So go ahead and drop this down the rest of the way. Whatever that was disappeared. I think it was pretty small though. The jig is showing up more hot red than the fish was. So. And we'll just start jigging. I'm probably going to try this method for, I don't know, probably about a half hour. This is the exact spot where I caught both my lakers last time. I caught those using herring, and I was actually bouncing it off the bottom and then letting it settle there for a few minutes and then kind of repeating that process. And they were actually diving in and feeding off the bottom, and that's how I caught that last one. I had it sitting on the bottom. He was coming in for it, and I jigged it up, and then I opened my bail and let it drop about 5 feet, and he hit it on the drop. So I'm hoping with a smaller tube jig we can get one on the tube today. That'd be super cool. But if not, we'll switch over to herring. And I still have that tip up sitting out there. It hasn't gone off yet, but it's only been about 15 minutes. We're in about 35 feet of water right now. This is the same depth that I caught that fish at before. Water temperature is about the same today, same conditions, and there was quite a bit of activity last time I was here. Oh, there's something coming up off the bottom. There. He's coming to check it out. Tried dead sticking it, and Let's see if we drop to the bottom, if he'll take it. Nah, it looks like he took off on us. We're sitting right on top of, this is actually a really cool spot. So there was a gentleman out here last time I was here, and I was fishing with him for a little bit, and he had one of the AquaView cameras. And right here, it's actually a pretty cool spot. There's lots of structure on the bottom. It's pretty flat. It drops down right behind me, and then there's this, oh, there we go. Oh, I was not expecting that. Holy cow, he came out of nowhere. He doesn't feel very big, but wow, that did not take long, guys. I've only been out here for about 10 minutes, and oh, that was crazy. Well, I've got a pretty good hook set on him. He doesn't, oh, there he is. Actually, that's a pretty good sized fish. I guess I will give him a little bit of drag. Feels like I've got a pretty decent hook set on him, but I really don't want to lose him, so let him fight a little bit, tire him out. Oh yeah, that's not a bad fish at all. I think it's probably a little bit smaller than the first one that I caught last time I was out here. But I think he's bigger than the second one I caught. Man, that was crazy. He hit it on the drop again too. They really like the drop out here from what I've seen. I jigged it up, bounced it off the bottom, and pulled it up about 3 feet, and let it swirl back down. And like I was talking about, these jigs just kind of circle their way down towards the bottom, and yeah, I went to jig back up and it didn't come back up. I've got him probably about 8 feet under the ice. Oh, that's actually not a bad fish. That might be bigger than the first one I caught last time, now that I look at it. Get the sonar out of here. That's not bad, yeah. Got him right under the ice. Come here, get your head in the hole. Yeah, he's a fighter. He's not big, he's pretty small. Probably about the same size as the first one I caught last time, but he's fighting pretty hard. Fighting a lot harder than that first one before. Well, that's good. That means they're active today. If I can just get his head to the hole, we'll get him up here and take a look. Yeah, he absolutely hammered that tube jig though. There we go. Get him up here. Get your head thrashes out of the way, sir. Come here. I know he's gonna thrash as soon as I pull his head out of the water, so I'm waiting for him to go ahead and get it done. Yeah, I got a real good hook set on him though. It's right through the top of his mouth, coming up kind of next to his eyeball. Come on. Well, I guess we'll just do it this way. Oh yeah, that's a real good laker. Awesome. Oh, look at that. Yeah, that is actually bigger than the one that I caught last time. Get that out of there. Thank you for making today worth the drive though. I was pretty worried that I was gonna get skunked today, and I got out here and the weather was pretty crappy, so that's all right. That fish right there is the reason that we're doing this today, guys. Look at that. That's the biggest laker I've caught so far, and that is laker number 3 of my entire life. So I'm gonna kind of pose in front of the camera here. Get myself a nice little picture since I'm the only one out here today. I don't have anyone else to do it. All right, let's get this guy released. Wow, just beautiful fish though. Absolutely gorgeous colors. I think he's ready, so let's get him out. Oh, there he goes. Yeah, he was ready to go. All right, guys, we're on the board for the day. This is actually a pretty difficult lake from everyone I've talked to. A lot of people come out here and get skunked. I got skunked here the first time I came out, and I've only had my line in the water for maybe 5 minutes and hit a laker already. So, all right, well, that was a pleasant surprise. Got the transducer in the water again. I think it's pointing where I want it to. That's the one thing about turning your beam width down, is you have to have it pointing exactly where your jig is going to be. Otherwise you won't see your jig, you won't see any fish. Well, I mean, you will, but you'll see fish that are, you know, over there or wherever it happens to be pointing, and that's not what you want. So I don't know where that fish came from. There might be, sometimes you'll find a dead zone on the bottom where your transducer can't see, and a lot of times that's caused by you know, there'll be a big rock, or there'll be like you know, there might be a steep drop off, or an underwater cliff or a bunch of foliage or something like that. And the way that the transducer sees that is it'll see the top of that rock as the bottom. And so, you know, if that rock is 2 feet tall and the transducer seeing that the top of that rock is the bottom, there's, you know, 2 feet underneath that rock that the transducer is not going to see. And that's part of the reason that I like narrowing my beam width the lower or the deeper water that I'm in, because it kind of helps you distinguish exactly what is the bottom. But every once in a while, you know, you'll be on a spot where you kind of have a false bottom and the real bottom is, you know, a couple more feet down. And I think that's kind of what's going on here. There's probably a rock or something down there, because that Laker came out of absolutely nowhere. There was no fish on my screen, and all of a sudden he just rocketed straight up off the bottom, and before I knew it, he was on there. So I'm definitely pretty pleased with this tube jig, though. I think the 3-inch was just too big last time. The Lakers, at least in this spot of the lake, seemed to be on the smaller side. That one was probably, he was maybe 22 inches. I don't think he was quite 24. I should have measured him, but those smaller ones, I think it works better to just have the smaller size tube jig. I decided to just throw this one down first because it's what I already had on my rod from char fishing yesterday, and he hit it. So we'll just keep using this one for now unless they, you know, stop hitting it, and then we'll move on to something else. But anyway, it's pretty darn cool. Now, one thing that I just kind of wanted to show you guys real quick is going back to the, you know, the chirp or the beam width and, you know, false bottoms and all that kind of stuff. So according to the sonar, I'm sitting on the bottom right now. Obviously, that's not the case because I don't have a bunch of slack in my line. But it's saying that the bottom's at 35 feet and I'm sitting on the bottom right now. However, if I open my bail here, there's at least another, I'd say probably 2 to 3 feet until you actually get to the bottom. So it's just kind of important to make sure that you actually know exactly where the bottom is. Like I said, you can be jigging, you know, on what you think is the bottom, but there could be another 3 feet underneath you where that's actually where all the Lakers are. And a lot of times they'll come up and rise towards you if you're not actually on the bottom, and you'll be able to see that on a sonar. But if you're, you know, you don't have your rod in the water, you're eating lunch or smoking a cigarette or whatever, and you're just kind of sitting here, there could be all kind of fish swimming right along the bottom in that 2 or 3 feet, and you have absolutely no idea that they're there. So you might think that the spot is dead, and you're like, this spot sucks. Haven't marked a fish in hours. I'm going to go ahead and move on, when really there, you know, was a whole bunch of fish right on the bottom. So, and a lot of times with these Lakers, what they're looking for is for you to bounce that jig off the bottom, stir up a bunch of silt, and then, you know, rest it on the bottom for a few minutes, because what that imitates is an injured bait fish, especially with these tube jigs, or, you know, a chunk of herring, like a herring tail or whatever. When it comes down through the water column, they're going to do that circle all the way down. So if you let it circle down and then let it hit the bottom and then, you know, jig it back up abruptly, let it rest on the bottom, what that imitates is a fish that's injured, that's kind of drifting down towards the bottom, lands on the bottom. And, you know, fish jump sometimes, so they'll hit the bottom and boom, they jump real quick. And that's what those Lakers are looking for. So that's kind of the tactic that I'm using here. That's what I did on that first one. That's what I did last time. If you watch that video that I shot a few days ago when I caught my first couple Lakers, the gentleman that was out here actually taught me how to do that. Because I thought, you know, just jigging a couple feet up off the bottom is what I needed to do. And I marked several fish that came in and looked at it, but they never touched it. So that tactic definitely seems to work. It's not going to work on all lakes. I know a lot of places in the, you know, the northern U.S. and Canada, Manitoba, those kind of places, you'll see guys, you know, with the flasher, and as soon as a fish rockets up off the bottom, they'll reel. There's a channel that I watch, and absolutely awesome to watch those Lakers chase. But what I found in this lake specifically, it might have to do with how cold it is here. The water's 31 degrees, but they don't seem to be that active. So from what I found, most of these fish aren't going to chase you up. The ones that do only chase to about, you know, 30 feet, and then they'll go back down, and they don't want anything to do with you. So at least in this lake where I'm at here, and probably some of the similar lakes around here, that tactic where you just kind of bounce it off the bottom and imitate a struggling injured bait fish is probably going to be your best bet. Also, like I was saying earlier, it's pretty important to work your entire water column. So I haven't marked a fish or felt a fish or anything in probably probably about 15 minutes now since I caught that first one. I've been kind of bouncing it off the bottom and jigging right on the bottom. So what I like to do now is pull up 5 to 10 feet. So we were 35 to 30, now we're 30 to 25, and I'm going to start jigging. And a lot of times what you'll see, I didn't see it this time unfortunately, but a lot of times what you'll see when you bring that up off the bottom, then you'll see a fish rise. And a lot of times, like I was just saying, in this lake specifically, they won't rise all the way and like give active chase, but you'll see that they're there because they'll come up off of that false bottom and actually come into your range of view. So that's a tactic that I like to use to see if there was actually anything on the bottom that just wasn't biting. So maybe I can try something else to get it to bite. But also, like I said earlier, you'll see fish coming through occasionally at, 25 feet, 20 feet, 15 feet. Oh, there's something coming up off the bottom. There's something. Come on, take it, take it, take it, take it. He is right on it. Let's see if he'll take it on the drop. Oh, oh, there's two of them. Is there two? Did he take it? No, he didn't take it. He almost took it. Is he actively chasing it up? Yeah, there's a couple of them actively chasing it up through the water column. We're probably at about 30 feet now. I haven't seen them do that too much in this lake. Oh, I thought he took it on the drop. That's another thing to look for if you're looking for them to take it on the drop. When you drop it, if that line stops going out and you see it stop falling on the sonar, he probably has it in his mouth as it was dropping, and that's when you want to get that hook set. So quick as you can, crank that bail back closed and set that hook. Yeah, he didn't take it. Let's drop it all the way down to the bottom. See if they're still kind of hanging out there, but I think they kind of went back down to the bottom. So I'm going to leave it on the bottom for just a minute and just kind of jig a little bit. That's one other thing to note. Like I said, if you're not having luck, try something different. If what you're doing isn't working, try something different jig, different depth, different spot, different electronic setup, really anything different, just to see if you can get yourself onto some fish. But sometimes with fish like this, like Lakers or char, it can be beneficial, even if you haven't marked a fish in an hour, half hour, whatever, to still try that spot for a little bit longer. Lake trout are predators, so a lot of times they'll just kind of be milling around the lake at a certain set depth. And, maybe like today I hit a fish 5 minutes within 5 minutes of being here. Haven't caught anything for about a half hour after that fish, but I'm still going to hang out at this spot for probably at least another half hour, if not an hour. And the reason for that is those trout are predators. They're circling around the lake at a set depth looking for their prey. Obviously I caught a trout at this depth that we're at right now, so that's probably the depth that most of these fish are going to be at theoretically, because that's the depth that a lot of their prey is at. The small rainbow trout, there's grayling in here that these fish feed on. There's burbot, and I think there's landlocked salmon in here too. I could be wrong on that one, but anyway, once you find that depth that, one or at least a couple of them are hanging out at, it's usually good to stay at that depth, because eventually they're going to make their way around the lake. They don't ever really stop moving. They're always looking for prey. So they'll just kind of circle the lake at about that depth, and eventually, a fish or two is going to swim by the spot that you're at. And if you're, you're like, there's no fish here, whatever, I'm going to move, and you're in the process of packing up, that's when you'll, see a mark go across the sonar. So when I'm ready to move, I usually like to say, well, let's do another half hour. That way I can be positive that I gave the spot as much time as possible. Even though it's good to be productive and move around, try new spots, it is sometimes good, depending on the fish you're looking for, to hang out in the same spot for a little bit of extra time, and sometimes they will eventually show up. Especially if you have something tasty like this tube jig with, the scent of the herring on it. Eventually that will draw a fish in. Well, it's been another probably about 20 minutes. So like I said before, if you're not getting the results you want, change something. So I'm going to pull this up and I'm going to throw on, I think I'm not going to go to herring just yet, just a single, piece of herring, but I think I'm going to throw on the same tube jig, that one I showed you a little bit ago though, that is the pink and chartreuse. I'm using the white and chartreuse now. So we'll throw that pink and chartreuse on and see if that makes any difference. And it also looks like my herring came off it wasn't on there very well, so that might also be why we're not marking any Lakers the past few minutes. There might not be enough scent down there to really draw them in. So I'm going to go ahead and switch jigs, and we'll get it back in the water. Man, there is just nothing more awesome than a brand new tube jig. This is another one by Columbia River, a local company out of Palmer, Alaska. It's the exact same one that I was just using, but rather than the white color, it's going to be a pink and chartreuse. And it's got these cool little sparklies in the tail and these little green flippers. And they've got a little sparkle on the end. So hopefully that'll flash enough light that those fish will be able to see it down there. And there's that jig I was just showing you. And I've got it tipped with a nice stinky piece of herring. So let's get that back down in the hole. I'm going to try one last time. A tactic I like to use before I officially give up on a jig is I'll bring it all the way up to about 10 feet. And then I'll open that bail and let it slowly circle its way all the way back down to the bottom. And the reason I do that is, at least in this lake, I find that these Lakers really like taking that jig on the drop. So before I give up on it, I bring it all the way up and then let it drop all the way back down. Because they can see and they can smell from a pretty far distance away, especially in a clear lake like this. So they'll, you know, if they're 100 feet over that direction, they'll see that jig circling its way down, especially if it's one of these glow-in-the-dark ones. So I like to do that and let it go all the way down, bounce off the bottom, and then I'll bring it back up and jig it there for about 30 to 60 seconds. And oh, there's a fish, there's a fish. Oh, he came right up after. Take it. He's, come on. I think he got it. No, he's trying. I don't want to take it away from him. See if he'll hit it on the drop. Oh no. I think he had it. It quit falling, but it... Oh no. My bail didn't close when I tried to set the hook. My bail did not close like I thought it had when I set that hook. There we go. Got him. Oh, awesome. I knew he was there. And I knew that he was trying to hit it, but he just wouldn't do it. Oh, he came off. Come on. Come and get it. He's still there. Come and get it. Come on. Son of a gun. Let's see if is my jig still on? I really hope I didn't lose. Oh yeah, the jig is still on. Okay. Well, I was just getting ready to take that jig off, but of course then he hit it. Let's drop this jig back down and see if that fish will come back for it. Man, I can't believe that he came off. That really sucks. Man, that was a bummer. But it happens. That's what it's all about. Just being out here and enjoying the beauty of Alaska. Hopefully finding more fish. Well guys, this spot hasn't been productive in probably about an hour now since I hooked into that fish that I lost. So I think I'm gonna move on to the next spot. The next spot we're going to, I'm gonna go back down towards the launch quite a ways. I've got a spot plotted out. I'll show you guys when we get down there why I plotted that spot out, but it's actually almost back to the launch. So if I could just get the car out, I can get it back into my tire tracks that I made earlier, hopefully, and drive my way down there. So I'm gonna get packed up and I'll see you guys in the car. All right, I got everything loaded up. Well, car's stuck, so I'm gonna dig the wheels out and I'm gonna try to back into here where I was parked, back all the way up, and then kind of get a running start. If I can get some speed, I can get back out. This is the other reason that I kind of wanted to bail out of this spot just a little early though, because I really don't want to be trying to do this later on when it's starting to get dark and the temperature is dropping on me. There we go. Come on. Awesome. All right. Let's see if I can just... Aha! I think we got it. All right, I've made it to the spot that I wanted to get to. So we're here now. We were right over here before. It's not going to focus, of course. That's okay. So we were all the way down here, kind of in the middle of the lake, and I've worked my way back over here. And the reason that I am looking at this spot here, so first of all, it's about 60 feet of water, which can usually be pretty good for lakers. The second reason is I know a lot of people right off this little point right here. This entire area is where most of the rainbows hang out. They stock rainbows into this lake, and they also stock grayling, but this area here is mostly where all these rainbows are hanging out. And as you can see, the walls are very, very steep all the way around this end of the lake, and then there's this huge flat down here. So the reason that I kind of want to come in here is because down here, these walls start coming up steeply. So there's almost this kind of bowl shape here, which means that if there's any lakers down here in this flat, they're going to be chasing those prey fish and trying to corner them up against these walls, is my theory. So there's that, and then also up here at the top, we have all of these rainbows. So this entire area here, I think, should be pretty darn good. I could go fish rainbows right now. There's a couple people all around over here. There's one over to my left, but I don't really want to do that. I want to try to get myself a laker. And I've fished this lake at 30 feet, 20 feet, 40 feet, but I've never tried 60 feet. So I think we're gonna try 60 feet. I'll see you guys in just a minute. Well, we're in about 60 feet of water, which is exactly where I wanted. And right around here should be about where the lake starts making that curve at the end. And it's got some pretty steep walls. So I'm hoping that those lakers will be using this kind of bowl inner turn area to kind of ambush some prey. And we're going to be the prey today. I think I'm going to start out with that tube jig that I've been using. This is the pink and chartreuse with those little rattly flippers on there. And I'm going to tip it with some more herring and go all the way down to the bottom to start, and we'll see if any fish come in. All right, let's send our friend Mr. Tube Jig down to the depths to find us a laker. Well, what was that, a fish? There might be... There is... Yeah, there's another fish. He chased me up. He's going back down. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Take it. Gotcha! Oh, that's a good one. Oh, yes. Make sure that hook is set this time. I am not losing another fish today. Well, I proved my tactic again. I dropped that one all the way down into the mud, and I closed the bail, and I felt just the tiniest little nudge as he put his nose down there in the mud to get it, and sure enough, he took it. And I really hope that I got that hook set. This feels like a way bigger fish than that last one, and we're in much deeper water, so oh my goodness, my heart is racing. Yeah, he's taking line. We're at about 40 feet right now. I'm gonna try not to horse him too much because I'd really like to not lose this fish. Oh man, he's going back down on me. We're down at, oh boy, we're down at 50 feet now. Holy cow. Oh, this is gonna be a good one. Oh my goodness. All right, we're coming up now. Back at about 40. Wow, I can't believe that he took it in the mud like that. I didn't even realize he was there. There's that dead zone we were talking about earlier down there on the bottom, and I dropped my lure down into that dead zone to where I couldn't see it, and I didn't see the fish at all. I felt that little nudge, like I said, and I went to bring it back up, and there was no bringing it back up. He had that thing tight in his mouth. Oh, this is gonna be a good one. I'm so stoked about this. I really hope I can land this fish. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. I just got my first glimpse of him. He's all I saw, we're at about 10 feet right now. All I saw was just this gigantic flash of white. Oh yeah, that's a good fish. All right. Well, I'm pretty pleased. My theories today seem to be paying off. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but yeah, I'm pretty happy that I came over to 60 feet of water. Come on, where are you at? Where are you at? Now I just need to get his head in the hole, but he is, there we go. Oh yeah, that's a fat fish. Wow, that is a fat. He's gonna tell me how displeased he is about this. Oh, that is a heavy fish. Wow, we're gonna have to get that one on the scale. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, that's the biggest laker I've got. Hands down. Oh wow, that is a gorgeous lake trout. Yeah, he took that jig right in the roof of the mouth. Yeah, he got that set in there pretty darn hard. Make sure the GoPro's still recording, which it looks like it is. Wow, look at that fish. We're gonna have to get this guy out in the sunlight. Oh yeah, he wanted that. He dove right down into the mud for it. Well, that's exciting. 2 good lakers in one day. Yeah, he's about maybe just shy of 4 pounds. Awesome. Let's get this guy down, and I want to get a quick measurement on him. Oh, you stay right there. From tail to snout, looks like 21 inches. Yeah, that's my biggest laker. He's not huge by any means, but he is absolutely gorgeous, guys. Let's get this fish out in the sunlight real quick where we can see him, and then we're gonna get him safely released back down the hole. Yeah, look at that. Absolutely gorgeous fish. I love this lake, guys. Let's get back inside and get this fish released. Oh yeah, that's gorgeous. All right, bud, let's get you home. Oh, don't bite me. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you, buddy. Come on, get back in there. I couldn't get you up the hole, I can't get you down the hole. There he goes. Safe and sound, back to the depths. Oh. Woo. All right. Oh, that is just absolutely awesome. What are you doing? Get back up there. The wind is starting to pick up and the tent does not approve. With these Eskimo tents, I've found that sometimes if you open the door, it takes the tension off of the side, and that can cause the roof to drop in. But yeah, there he goes, guys. That's him right there, going back down to the bottom, and oh, his buddy's coming up to meet him, it looks like. Oh man, that was absolutely exciting. And I'm happy to see. I love leaving the sonar in. Sometimes you got to take it out so you don't get your fish tangled up in it, but I love leaving the sonar in, and you can see him go back down all the way to the bottom. And that's how you know that you returned them safely and they're gonna go on living a healthy life and be caught again one day. Well guys, I just ran through my last bottle of propane. It's starting to get pretty cold and wind is picking up. Sun's starting to set too, and I'm getting pretty hungry, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and call it for the night. Had an absolute blast out here on the lake today, just like always. Caught my personal best lake trout. Caught 2 total today, both of which were pretty darn nice. I learned the topography of the lake a little bit better. Found some more areas where to catch fish, and overall just had a great day. I hope you guys had as much fun as I did, and until next time, I'll see you on the next one. And one more thing, Always remember, guys, keep Alaska clean. Clean up after yourself. Don't leave your trash. Leave it cleaner than you found it. Thank you guys again, and I'll see you on the next one.